So let's start off here with this document. So this would be what I would put together for a strategy to utilize Facebook groups to start posting in, to get engagement, and to ultimately, start contacting people um, in terms of turning them into leads for a specific offer. Now, this is for one of my students and clients, Sharon, and specifically, she is serving people that um, generally speaking, in at least these three groups are who we're first searching. So she's working with course creators, coaches, authors, basically people that have an expertise or a skill set and want to understand how to package that up into a bite-sized offer. So first off, I put together a list of Facebook groups, entrepreneurial based, that I would join. And more specifically, that would be this document, groups I added specifically for this particular client. So I have all kinds of different groups that I recommended and a list that I put together of the first groups that I started joining to grow my business organically to the first 10, 20, 30, and ultimately 40K months, whereby using probably the first 15 or so groups on this list. You'll see them there. Some of the names may even change, but I guarantee the link is probably still the same to them. But, you'll see a lot of these coaching jungle mentor box mastermind coaches and consultants course creators, digital millionaire secrets, which actually was a private community of Dan Henry's that's probably no longer even there and I'm no longer in. But also there's some updated ones, but there's a lot of good kind of consulting, small business networking, YouTube ads, funnels, and Facebook masterminds, 7-figure CEOs, right? All kinds of groups. But then more specifically, Sharon's approach right now, I put a handful of new author-based groups, more coaching groups, course creator groups. And how I found those were very, very simple, as I show in many of my trainings. If I went back to Facebook and went to groups, I would just simply go to Discover next. And of course, to start, when you go to Discover, it's going to give you recommended groups, right? Like my area of the country where I live. Oh, again, my area of the country. Suggestions based off of probably interests I have, covers, Sopranos, whatever, right? There's just all kinds of recommendations. I want to get more specific. And in this case, let's just say, what was the first one? Let's say authors. So all I would do is go here, type authors, go down and click groups again one more time just to make sure it's only showing me groups. And then I can even specify if I really want. Here, I didn't really want to. And I'm looking for groups with good amounts of members and good daily activity, right? 31,000 members, 10 posts a day. Over almost 500,000 members, over 10 posts a day. An eighth of a million members, over 10 posts a day, right? So on and so forth. So active groups with a lot of members. And then that's where I want to start off. Personally, I want to get more specific down into those 3, 5, 10,000 person groups and figure out how to kind of lead gen and crack those codes as well. But this is kind of my starting strategy. I want to join some of the larger groups. And that's for a couple of reasons. So again, the document I had just talked about on the other screen with all kinds of Facebook groups. These are just good examples, right? You can go in and obviously find some of your own groups. So then from there, in terms of Sharon was asking me very specific post ideas and examples. So there's obviously the Loom video here that I am recording, or YouTube, or wherever you might be watching it. But number one, and the main thing, is I want to understand the sophistication level and who I'm going for in the group. So let's say I'm in one of those big, mindset, mentorship, mastermind coaches groups or something along those lines, a Dean Graziosi group with over 250,000 people. Now there's going to be all kinds of sophistication levels, but the base of that group is about a 3 on a scale of say 1 to 10 sophistication level. And who am I going for? Generally speaking, as business owners with service-based offers, we're going for kind of us, 6 months or a year ago, right before we kind of leveled up. And we're teaching that kind of business owners something that we've now executed and had success with ourselves and can kind of trickle down. So in Sharon's case, with bite-sized offers, helping people turn their expertise into a course which you can monetize and do so within 30 days without having to show you how to create that, one, albeit what's the word I'm kind of looking for? The one and only 5K, 10K high ticket offers. A lot of people think that's what they have to do. They have to perfect that and lead gen for that and sell that. And then bam, I just sell 1 or 2 offers a month. I'm great. Yeah, that might be a good strategy if you're trying to do things on a very certain approach. But what if I could show you how to create 1,500 bite-size offers that people can afford, jump into, and I can show you how to sell 10 of them this week, right? So understanding the group sophistication level, and more importantly, who am I targeting? And in a group like that, I'm probably targeting more kind of entry-level people that haven't cracked the code and dialed in their offer yet, because if so, there's probably not a heck of a lot of need for me. Or all they've done is dialed in that high-ticket offer. They're not selling the amount, or maybe they haven't sold any, and I want to show them a different way, right? So first off is understanding the sophistication level. And this ties right into that, but know the specific audiences, right? So now that I know the sophistication level, is this one more for coaches, more for authors, more for course creators, or anyone else watching this? Maybe your three people are different, right? Because some of these posts that we're going to talk about creating and show examples might be good for all of those groups, right? But some might be more specific to people with, a specific certain expertise. Coaching is a different expertise than a course creator. Is it different than an author, right? So there's going to be certain intricacies. Now, really understanding your knowledge gaps and doing some quick research on outlier posts. What is an outlier post for anyone that doesn't know that might be watching this? That's just when I go into a group, let's say a popular group, a ClickFunnels group with whatever, 400,000 people, however many people are in there. I want to scroll through the last 10 posts. And let's say I look at the engagement level, and on average, it gets 21 likes and 11 comments. Well, let's say one of those 10 has, 113 likes and 94 comments. That would be an outlier post. Why did that one get so much more engagement? And then I want to take that takeaway, and I kind of want to, I'm not going to copy and paste that, but I could take that takeaway and use it in other groups and use it in a similar, fashion. Maybe I tweak the question, maybe I tweak it a little bit, but I want to understand what type of posts are engaging in these groups, and then, use that as a framework and an outline. And also knowing the knowledge gaps very specific to your group. What's that big gap that we're solving? And what kind of post can I create to ask a question where they have that aha moment, like, oh, shoot, if I had that, that would be the game changer, right? And that's what we want to do. So very specifically, very generally, I should say, I put a few examples in here. This one will be very familiar, Aaron. This is one that I did on your behalf before, this particular coaching jungle group, right? Very basic, but hey, what's the number one reason coaches and experts haven't created their course yet? And go, right? And I was just doing this for market feedback, but ended up getting like 60 some odd comments, right? That got pretty good engagement. It's funny how it's only got like 3 likes, but yet like 60 some odd comments, right? Usually those are kind of similar, odd. But this one, I don't care about likes. I wanted comments and I want engagement. That's kind of what we want with all of them. That's just one example. So that kind of ties into what I want to talk about next. And that is the example on D. Do general question-based posts at first and test for engagement. It could be things like, hey, if you had your ideal income style, what would your life look like, right? And have them start to future pace themselves. I'd be working part-time. I'd be driving my dream car, right? Cool. So what's stopping you from doing that? And that could be a really good one that gets engagement and fuels the transition. Because Sharon, right? Anybody that we do this for, the 4 steps are create the post, right? For engagement, number 1. Number 2 is transitional messaging. So that's where they comment and I come back. And Sharon, you're really good at this, but that's where we want to use that method to take it a layer or 2 deeper. Then number 3, we're going to take them off of Messenger. And hey, you mind if off of the messaging thread, the transitional messaging, and into Messenger is step 3. And that's where we really, start to triage and give the recommendations and send maybe a resource, a VSL, something of value, right? Whatever we have on our specific sales process to give them a little more information and deliver some value. And then ultimately 4, we want to book them in for the call. And again, Sharon, who I'm creating this for, is very good at that part from the transitional messaging, from the DM. She's phenomenal at booking. So she asked me to create this on her behalf for hey, what would you do for a game plan of what type of posts and what groups would I be joining if I'm kind of starting out from scratch again on a new offer organically? So then I put more specific posts with value, experiences, or really highlighting the gap in the market that we're solving. And these are a couple that Daniel on my team created that got decent engagement, and they're pretty good examples as well. So I don't remember the 2 I put in here off the top of my head, but let's click on one and look really quickly. And we'll see that this post is, hey, want to see the process knowledge gap? The knowledge gap we use to scale PDOCS to $1 million. Knowledge gaps aren't only for booking appointments through DMs. Look at any successful ad, any piece of copy. They're challenging you to view. So this is where Daniel is doing kind of a problem solution based post, and he's really making that kind of difference. Hey, it's not just for appointment bookings. It's also in ads. It's also in your copy, right? It's also, you're talking about a new kitchen remodel, right? He makes really good examples, then a good little, image that shows what a knowledge gap looks like, as Sharon, you specifically would be very familiar with. And then you'll see this got about 38 comments down there. So that got pretty good engagement just off of a basic post, talking about, hey, you want to see what we have, something of value, something of past experience that brought success. And we're just sharing that with people and then kind of bridging the gap. So the bulb goes off and, hey, maybe I haven't done this right. Maybe I've never done this right. So anything we can do to bridge that gap into, them getting their offer monetized. Maybe they didn't even realize that they could get paid for their expertise in a high ticket fashion or a mid ticket fashion. Maybe they thought they can only sell their $29.99 book, right? So good examples of that. Obviously, use your PDOCS research sheet and Starboard to maximize the optimization and the organization of these outreach campaigns. And there's trainings down there on how to do that. But that's just a pretty good overview in a quick little structured fashion of groups you can join, outreach you can do, and the main things you really want to be cognizant and aware of when you're crafting these posts. And I would say don't overthink it. Go kind of vague and general in the beginning, but do something. What I always like to say is create your post with a purpose or an objective that's going to elicit a response of substance, not necessarily just a yes, Sharon, like a this, like it gets people to actually say something back, right? And then it's a very easy segue into the conversation. So as long as you have a very specific purpose, like that other post I talked about is an example of, hey, what would you have if, like, what would your lifestyle look like if you were making the dream amount of money you would be, right? That gets them to talk about and paint a vision in their head of what they'd be doing. Then what they're going to start telling you. They're working part-time, they're able to retire, they're able to buy their vacation home, they're able to take their spouse on their honeymoon, they're able to put their kid in private school, right? They're going to say all these awesome things. So that, so that can get you very prepped for how you want to create that. So if you're creating that post and the type of responses you're going to get, do you know how you're going to transition that? Because if not, don't create the post in the first place, right? So those are some of the things you really want to think about, and that's a very solid strategy for starting up your outreach approach again.